The PBA Tournament of Champions is one of the highlights of the PBA season. It's a major event that features the best bowlers in the world, and there have been so many memorable moments at this tournament. The unexpected always seems to happen, but back in the early 90s, something extremely unexpected happened during the 1991 edition. The fans had made their way to the venue and the players were warming up for their first match, when suddenly the entire bowling alley had to be evacuated due to a bomb scare. When the telecast went live, the cameras turned to Chris Schenkel and Nelson Burton Jr., who were standing outside the bowling alley and had to explain to the viewers what had happened. At 2:48 PM, there was a telephone call that was received saying that there was a bomb inside the bowling alley. Therefore, everyone had to be evacuated.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris Schenkel with Nelson Burton Jr. Normally we would be going into the rest of our Firestone Tournament of Champions, but at 2:48 a telephone call here at Riviera Lanes indicated that there was a bomb inside, the scare of a bomb. So the law enforcement officers of Fairlawn, Ohio have asked everybody to depart the premises. Of course, we have too. And the threat came at 2:48 and said in 15 minutes, or about right now, the bomb would go off. We had a bomb scare last week in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. There was a bomb in the building. Very little consequent. It was detonated by the bomb squad of Windsor Locks and with very little effect. But, though this is one of those threats that, unfortunately, with the bowling industry, all of the representatives are here, including our network executives, a press corps, second to none, and this was the perfect spot for the ridiculous people to make the call.
Well, I agree, Chris. I believe it's ridiculous. It's probably frivolous, but the police have taken precautions. They've taken everybody out of the building. They've allowed us basically to go on the air here for a few minutes to inform the people at home, and we'll keep up with the procedures as they go along today.
Right.
Now, as Chris mentioned, there had actually been a bomb scare just 1 week before, and that time there actually was a bomb that was found and then detonated. So obviously they had to take every precaution to protect everybody present, and therefore couldn't just assume that this was a hoax. Thankfully, however, this did turn out to be a hoax and there wasn't actually a bomb in the bowling alley. Once the all clear was given, the crowd and the bowlers were allowed back in and the first match would begin. Even though this hoax caused a great deal of disruption, the first match was actually only delayed by about 30 minutes. But this still had a knock-on effect on ABC's scheduling, as they decided to cut off the telecast to show the ice skating instead. This meant that halfway through the second to last game, coverage was stopped and the title match was not shown either. This is probably why I really struggled to find much footage of this tournament online, but I did manage to find the title match, although the quality isn't the best. Looking back to this period of time around the 90s, it felt like these bomb hoaxes started to become a very regular occurrence at sporting events. If there's any horse racing fans watching this, then you might well remember the famous bomb hoax that took place at the Grand National in 1997.
The world's most famous steeplechase and one of Britain's great sporting events was called off half an hour before it was due to start this afternoon because of a security alert. 2 bomb threats were made by callers who used the IRA's code words.
It was half an hour to race time, but the tannoys were announcing an evacuation.
Please evacuate the whole racecourse and make your way to the centre course and coach park areas.
There have been 2 coded bomb warnings received by the police, and there is no possibility of taking any chances. Consequently, we're going to abandon racing for today and make a further announcement later. So I just ask everybody here, including you from the BBC, to leave the course and get out onto the public highway immediately.
But moving on from bomb hoaxes, let's just look at what actually happened once the players got underway. The winner of the first match, Chris Warren, faced Mike Miller, and it was Miller who advanced with a 2:30 game. In the semi-final, it was Miller against David Ozio, and it was Ozio who would prevail 240 to 227. The number 1 seed was Amleto Monicelli, and even though this final match was not aired at the time, I did manage to find a video of this match. Both players began with a strike, but Monicelli's second shot was slightly inside and didn't quite make it back to the pocket. Ozio was looking good with another strike until he ran into big trouble on the left lane. The ball really hooked and he left the 4-6-7. Monticelli struck and then didn't throw a good shot on the left lane. He just didn't get the ball out far enough and it crossed over going Brooklyn and he left the 5-pin. But amazingly, he went and did the exact same thing on the spare and the ball shot past the 5-pin and this miss gave his opponent a 7-pin lead. Ozio then doubled to increase his lead to 17. He ended up making this 4 in a row after a light hit kicked out the 7-pin. Monticelli was trying to fight back, however, with 3 in a row and then threw a very nice shot to make it 4 strikes in a row. But David Ozio was locked in, throwing some brilliant shots and struck in the 8th and 9th frames. Monticelli's next shot was inside, however, and he went through the nose, leaving a split, and this would mean that this match was all over. Ozio was the winner of this tournament of champions with a final score of 236 to 203. It certainly was a very odd start to the telecast with this bomb scare, but the main thing was the players were able to eventually get onto the lanes, and David played extremely well in both matches, and this win came during what was quite possibly his best season ever. He had already won 2 titles that year, and after this Tournament of Champions win, he would go on to win a 4th title in 1991 as well. And that is going to bring us to an end of this breakdown. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'm sure there's some of you out there who probably remember watching this live. And if you did, then I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Maybe you've got some other details that I missed. But yeah, it was a rather interesting start to this show. But the main thing is, as I said, A, nobody was hurt, and B, they managed to get things back to normal very quickly and allow play to begin with only basically a half an hour delay in the end. And if you have enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could click the subscribe button below if you haven't done so already. And as always, thank you bowling fans, and see you all next time.